This is Porygon, the first ever banned Pokemon, and all it took was 38 episodes of the anime, and it wasn't even his fault. To make a long story short, Ash and the gang go into hyperspace to team up with one of the two Porygons. Then a vaccine is sent into a computer to then stop the virus, but it locks onto Porygon, the one that has Ash, Brock, Misty, and Pikachu. And then Pikachu hits the viruses with an electric attack, and it explodes. Then the screen flashes red and blue, really fast. This caused hundreds of children in Japan to have seizures, and the episode has never been aired again, and has been banned ever since. And Porygon has never gotten another episode ever again, and barely appears in the anime, and same for its evolutions, Porygon2 and Porygon-Z, who weren't even around back then. They have all been banned. Despite this banning, they all have appeared in the anime since. Just 9 episodes later, in a Chansey operation, Porygon is in a scene transition. So it doesn't really count as being in the anime because it wasn't an actual Porygon. It was a picture of a Porygon. Then later in the same season, in the episode Lights, Camera, Quaction, a very similar, if not the same transition is used, and Porygon is in it again, just as a picture. So these two probably just don't count, even though Porygon technically appears. It's not like a sentient Porygon. The next appearance of Porygon is in the Orange Islands episode, A Way Off Day Off, in which Porygon is the Who's That Pokemon, which marks the only time Porygon or any of its evolutions has had a voice in the English dub of the anime. Which, again, it's just a picture of a Porygon. It's not like a sentient moving Porygon. It's just a still. So it could be debated if this counts as his appearance. But finally, in Pokemon Forever, Celebi, the Voice of the Forest, which is the 4th Pokemon movie, Porygon finally appears as an actual Pokemon, not just as a picture. In the opening to the movie, we can see Porygon behind a fence. And in the very next movie, Pokemon Heroes Latios and Latias, we can see the exact same shot of the exact same Porygon behind the exact same fence. So, still technically not in the anime, like not in the show, but it counts. The next time Porygon would appear in the English dub would be 10 movies later, in the Pokemon movie Kiryu vs. the Sword of Justice, in the World of Pokemon opening, but every Pokemon in the first 5 generations appears, so it doesn't really count because it's just another picture. But this is also when we see Porygon2 and Porygon-Z make their first and only appearances in the anime ever. But they are both just pictures. This is 3 generations after Porygon2 was introduced and 1 after Porygon-Z. And then 5 years later is Porygon's final appearance so far in the anime, in the Sun and Moon episode Partner Promises, in which Porygon is on an image on a box in a store. It's very faint, so you can barely see it, but at the same time, it's also a picture, so it doesn't really count again. There is a Japan-only miniseries called Pocket Monsters TV Special Masara Town Arc Recap, in which, in the first episode, Porygon appears floating above a fence. Porygon in the anime really does like fences, but this was never released in English, so it doesn't really count as the English dub, because in Japan they already had Electric Soldier Porygon with the banned episode. And those are all the appearances of the Porygon evolutionary line in the anime. Easily the least out of all evolutionary lines. And it's kind of sad, because Porygon never did anything wrong. It just happened to be in the episode that Porygon appears in. And that's the story of Porygon, Porygon2, and Porygon-Z in the anime.